What about the male spouse? Like, can a male spouse here divorce his wife without her knowledge? Can it happen sometimes?
It cannot at the present time, thankfully, because previously, and before issuing law number 12 for the year 2015, amended by law 11 for the year 2018 with its articles 9 and 10, before this law, women used to live in fear because they could be divorced without their knowledge. Like any spouse can go immediately to the court and apply the divorce and get a divorce certificate, his certificate.
Without telling her.
Without telling her. And then she would be, you know, busy in her place, in her house, doing anything, and somebody knocks the door. And who is it? It's the informing department from the court, giving her the marriage certificate.
That's
so
harsh.
this was devastating, physiologically, let's say, torturing to women. And really, women would fear sleeping at night, not knowing whether if they are divorced or not. It happened. Of course, not all the families, but the families that have a lot of, you know, issues and problems, and they are not getting along together. So women would fear that maybe she is being divorced or so. So within these relationships, unfortunately, in the past times, yes, women used to fear being divorced without their knowledge. But thankfully, according to the new laws that I just mentioned, it is not that easy. So let's dig into Article 9 and Article 10. So Article 9 stated that in respect of filing for divorce and applying for divorce exclusively. So, you know, when it comes to family disputes, there are a lot of types. You have alimony, custody, you have even the custody itself, it has different types of custodies. Like lawyers have to pay attention when they file for custody. It's not only a physical custody. There are lots of types that we can, you know, tackle in the next segments. But for now, so, as I was saying, there are a lot of types of family disputes that could be arisen before the court. But when it comes exclusively to applying for divorce, divorce application, or filing for divorce by female spouses, they have to go, it is mandatory to go through the social consultation department. So, tell me how.
How?
Yeah.
It's louder this time.
So the Social Consultation Department is a department assigned by the family court to overview the dispute before going to the litigation process, in which maybe they can come into amicable solution in which, you know, both spouses can agree on to staying together or agree into divorce without, let's say, discussing the reasons of divorce or, you know, going against each other into why we're filing for divorce. So yes, there is a divorce that could be undertook easier and not through going through the litigation, in which both parties, both spouses agree before the consultation department to take the divorce. And this is not khulab, because as I told you, in this case the husband agrees.
Yeah, there's
both spouses agreed on giving divorce, and therefore
no struggling when it comes to
it is mandatory to go through this social consultancy. When it comes to the social consultancy, it takes a period of time from 15 to 60 days maximum, but duly it is 16. So it starts like this. The spouse who wishes to file for divorce or apply for divorce would give an application for the Social Consultation Department. The Social Consultation Department, within like a couple of days, will call the second spouse and, you know, ask him to come into the department and meet with one of the social consultants. There are employees there who are very active, you know, and they have a high experience in these disputes and willing to sit and talk to the spouse who filed and try to reason out things with them. Maybe talk to them to leave the divorce idea, or try to sense them into, you know,
settle them down.
Settle them down, or if they want to file for the divorce, to have it in with the same reasons. This is the difference between the divorce before the litigation and the divorce that happens within this stage, is that both spouses are not differentiating among what we call, let's say, reasons of divorce. Okay, so for example, if a male spouse claimed that he did all his commitments to the wife, he gave her financial rights, he treated her well, physiological needs, physical needs, everything, and then the wife claims something else, the
Claims
exact
the opposite.
Within this situation, there will be no divorce at that stage, and the divorce has to go through the litigation process that would take up to 3 to 4 years.
Oh, that's really long and painful for both sides.
It is. It is mentally stressful,
Definitely.
especially for women, because they wait each and every month for a hearing in which they might get the chance to be heard before the judge. And hopefully that there will be no language barriers before the court, because if ever occurred, the judge may not be able to understand the message, or may not be able to have a translator attending the hearing to translate everything.
You mentioned the translation, and I want to mention when it's related to expat women, if they got divorced here in Kuwait, and citizen women. What is the difference between them? Like, what are the results or the consequences of getting divorced if you are an expat or you are a citizen woman?
This is a very accurate and smart question. Tell me why.
Why?
Because see, when you examine the law, the family law, you will find that there are no contradictions. Women are being treated equally. Expatriate women and national women, they're all treated equally according to their religion, whether if it was Islam, Christianity, Baha'is, or any other religion. They will just go and apply for divorce, apply for any other lawsuit. But when you examine the residency laws and the visa conditions, especially for women who are sponsored under Visa 22, see, this is where the challenge comes. Women who are sponsored under Visa 22, meaning they are sponsored by the spouse, which is stressful, challenging. How, in actual application of these contradicting laws, for a woman to go and file for divorce, and when the second day she would face absconding, or she would face cancellation of her residency, in which she might be facing loss of custody of her children, she might be deported. She is in a manner that is not equalizing her rights. This contradiction between the laws causes double discrimination against women and women's rights, and this is never supporting to women, and this is just unfair. So people are not acknowledging this. Even expatriates themselves are not aware, because when they're emotionally under stress, they would go immediately for any consultant or a lawyer and ask to file for divorce without thinking the consequences of law's contradiction. When laws contradicts, the victim is the human being, and this is against human rights, I believe. So what's happening to expatriates women is that they feel themselves vulnerable when it comes to their right to file for divorce if the spouse is the sponsor. So in other expatriate women, the sponsor could be at Visa 18, so her job, right? She is kind of independent in a way. She can support herself, and in a manner that she can, follow up with the lawsuit, and she can stay in Kuwait. But if there was another, let's say, woman, wife, who is sponsored under Visa 22, it's going to be challenging for her.
Definitely.
Because how will she go and file? And how will she follow up with the lawsuit? See, lawsuit stays not a month, not a year, but 3 to 4 years. Meaning she has to keep valid residency all the time. She has to follow up. Even if she hired an attorney and gave him power of attorney, there will be lots of hearings in which she will be asked for her testimony. She will be asked for her presence. And therefore, I believe that women, expat women mainly, have to consider their visa status before going into such challenging and hard mission for them. So back to the second question, because you interrupted that with the first question. Yeah, so when it comes to the consultation department, so the spouse goes to apply for the divorce application, okay? They apply that one. And then, there will be a phone call for the other spouse by the consultation department to attend and, speak out before the consultative. And what's going to happen there, each spouse is going to talk. They're not both in the same session. there is a session for the male spouse and session for the female spouse, and they will go, you know, try to reason out, try to dig into the root causes, try to find a solution. It could take 2 to 3 sessions minimum, but in sometimes sessions could take longer, could be like 7, 8. Therefore, the law stated in Article 10 that if the the sessions went on, they should never exceed 60 days, period. So if they reached 60 days, there are 2 things to be done by the consultation department. If they have settled things, then settlement is out. Whether it was the settlement through going with amicable divorce, or through, you know, making up with them and they have a final, you know, happy life, or let's say settled.
Hopefully.
Okay? If none of these 2 resolutions came out, then the file will be immediately transferred to the court in which litigation take place.
Definitely. I apologize, Lawyer Atyab, due to the time conflict.